All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here. Mark Pre-Markets. Thanks for joining me. Hold on. Thanks for joining me for another Bitcoin video analysis session where we're going to be going over the support and resistance levels and potential scenarios for the coming week. All right. So again, if you're new to my stream, welcome. I'm on TradingView and I'm on YouTube. Okay. So I'm multi-streaming, means I have to follow house rules. No problem. I want to welcome you all. All right. So let's get this thing started, shall we? All right. So first things first, as you all know, I have to mention this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Okay. Now, so as you know, the way my stream works is first, I go over the economic calendar, right, which you should all be in the habit of doing, especially those of you who follow me regularly. You know that's the routine. Then I will go over the Bitcoin analysis. After that, should take about 10 to 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more. After that, I will then spend the remainder of the session on answering your specific questions. So if you have a question about an altcoin or you have a question about a stock, this is the time to ask. In fact, I would encourage you right now to put the questions in the channels. Hold on, I'm going to refresh my trading view here. Guys, oh yeah, also I want to mention a couple of things. In the TradingView channel, if you can't see me, just refresh the browser a couple of times. That usually resolves the problem. Also, if you want to share what country or what city you're from, that's always a fun fact. Okay, it's always cool to see where people are talking to me from. Anyway, all right, so with that being said, also now you'll notice the title here of this thing is called 14K support test, what you need to know, or another fake out rally. Okay, I actually have two titles. I guess you could say I'm A/B testing them. Anyway, the point is this: in this stream, obviously there's no way to know if it's going to 14K. The idea is to be prepared and account for the risk. Okay, that's the main idea here that we're going to get into. So now let's talk about this real quick, the economic calendar, and then we'll get into this Bitcoin situation. I also wrote in my article on TradingView. If you haven't read that, make sure you read that, because I basically am going to reiterate some of the points that I made in that article that I published yesterday. All right, now, economic calendar. First things first, we have tonight, we have the Australia rate statement, Bank of Australia rate statement. All right, now, Bank of Australia is not like a major player. It's really the dollar that we have to worry about. So I'm not going to really put a lot of weight on that news. If you're in some Aussie crosses, perhaps you can see an effect. But, you know, I'm going to mention it because it's a rate announcement. But other than that, I don't expect much. I don't expect a global reaction to that, whatever the outcome is. Typically, they follow everyone else anyway. Okay, they're not the world reserve currency. Sorry. No offense to my Australians. All right, now, then we have on Wednesday, we have Bank of Canada. We have their rate announcement. No one cares about Canada. I'm sorry. All right. And then we have on Friday, we have, which is what, the 9th, we have Michigan consumer sentiment. That's a US number. And although that's typically not a very important number, I'm going to mention it because consumer sentiment may have at least a temporary effect. It could set the tone for the day. This is important, particularly if you are a day trader. So you should be aware of that report. There are some other reports sprinkled in between. I'm not even going to mention them, okay, because I don't think they even carry enough weight. So those three things that I mentioned are what you should pay attention to. They're mostly going to be affecting Forex traders, okay, mostly. All right, so that's the economic calendar. You should be in the habit. TradingView has its own economic calendar. There are many. Just make sure you check one of them, all right? Now, next. Let's talk about Bitcoin, shall we? And let me see here, Mr. Plow, what's he saying to me here in TradingView? Okay, no problem. So I try it again here. Can you check mbtn? Okay, a Swiss manufacturer. Okay, it used to be. Okay, cool. All right, so he's putting his questions in there early. Good idea. So that when I get to the question and answer portion here, I'll be able to answer these questions right away. Again, people, now is a good time to be putting your questions in the channel. All right, let me see what's going on over here. All right, cool. So let's get started with the Bitcoin analysis. Now, again, I titled this, what you need to know about the 14K test, right? That's one of the titles I used here. That's represented by this rectangle that I put on the lower part of my chart. That rectangle has been there for a while. These levels have been on this chart for a while. All right. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. Anyone that's telling you that Bitcoin is going to do this and Bitcoin is going to do that, they're just pulling your leg. Please understand that and don't get sucked into this nonsense. Most of my followers know better, but if you're new and you're just learning about me now, please get the naivety, whatever you call it. I can't even say the word. Don't be naive, okay? The thing is, look where we are, all right? We are right in the middle of this range. Bitcoin is in a consolidation. I pointed out these levels in my article. That consolidation means anything that occurs at the midpoint of the consolidation, this price action is meaningless. I'm going to say that again. This price action is meaningless. Do not make a big deal out of it, especially on the larger time frames. Now, if you're a day trader, sure, there'll be opportunities on both sides, but we're not talking about day trades here like I do in my earlier session. We're talking about swing trades or investing, okay? And there's nothing going on here. Now, there's an argument for the bigger picture, which says Bitcoin is likely to test lower prices. That's where I get the 14K scenario from. If this turns out to be a lower high, a lower low is likely to follow. Now you say, well, if you think that, then why not get short? Well, because the probability at this location is 50-50. Although the bigger picture favors the test of the low, if there's no catalyst, then this thing is just going to flounder around and follow the S&P. And you have to realize that the S&P, although today they're red, right? Just the other day when Chairman Powell came out with his little gift, we saw a 500-point move in the Nasdaq, right? It was ridiculous, completely irrational nonsense. But that's what the market wants, right? The market wants hope, and he delivered a message of hope. Don't go by that stuff, okay? Like I pointed out earlier, he's the same guy that said, inflation is transitory. Remember that? Yeah, inflation is transitory. Don't worry about it. And then he said, oh, I made a mistake. How does that guy make a mistake about inflation? I mean, that's supposed to be his job, okay? I can understand if he was a retail trader, but the guy runs the most powerful bank in the world. Meanwhile, you can go to the supermarket and there was inflation everywhere. So how could he not see it? So I don't think it's a factor of intelligence. I think it's an agenda, all right? Because how can a guy like that be uninformed when he's the head of the most powerful bank in the world? Anyway, so my point is this. Don't go by that stuff, okay? You have to go by price structure and price action. The structure favors test of low. That's what it favors, but we're not at an opportune location. It doesn't mean that it won't work, but if you take a swing trade here, okay, on the short side, which I'm not calling, by the way, I am not calling, there's a sell signal there right now. I'm not calling that because the location is less than ideal. I don't like this location because it's 50-50. You can flip a coin and it's going to be the same result. For the short, I want to see the range high get tested. That is a high probability location, okay? This area up in here, that's what I want to see. A test of that followed by a setup and a confirmation. That has a much better reward risk and a much greater probability of working out compared to here. This may work out, but it's highly risky and it can go the wrong way very easily. Just like we got this higher low formation developing here, got everyone excited. All the morons coming out saying Bitcoin bull is back and blah, blah, blah. And that's complete nonsense, okay? By following me, you will learn about nonsense and a lot of it. That was nonsense. There's no reason you cannot forecast a new trend based on a bullish structure that hasn't proven anything. We are still inside this range. As long as we are in the range, whatever forms inside the range is pretty much meaningless. All right, that is my point. Now, again, so swing trade on the short side, I want to see up here. Otherwise, I do nothing. I'm not even going to call this. I mean, I don't actually short Bitcoin, but I make the calls. I'm not even going to make the call on this because the location is way less than ideal. It's just too aggressive. All right. Now, if you're on your own, if you take that one, it can go either way. You can flip a coin. Don't even waste your time with oscillators and all other nonsense. Now, as far as the long side goes, all right, I'm open to a swing trade long if we want to retest this low. This low is likely to get tested. All right. And if I see the setup there, I'm more likely to go for the long. And that's a trade I would actually look to take myself if we get the triple bottom. All right. Now, again, it's against the bigger picture because in theory, we should make the lower low. Does that make sense? So I'm willing to take the aggressive counter trend trade because if this market wants to be erratic and it wants to work its way back up to the range high or even back to the midpoint, after testing that low, that could be worth a decent swing trade, okay? So I'm willing to take that chance on something like that. But again, I'm speaking from the swing trade perspective. We'll see. So I'm laying out the scenarios here for you. Over as the week unfolds, you should be prepared for these scenarios. Not look at it and be like, oh, I don't know what to do. That is not what you should be thinking. I'm giving you the answers now. It's a matter, the question that you should be answering is, am I willing to take this risk? That is the question that you have to answer. I can't answer that question for you. Okay, so theoretically, we should go for the lower low. And that's, now let's talk about this 14K and what I mean by, what you should know on the 14K test. So when we start pushing levels like that, 14K is basically in the middle. It's right in this middle area. It's not an exact price. It's basically, we have the 15K low, and then we have this, what is this over here? 13.5, that's basically 14K. And after that, we have like basically 10K. So in those areas, those are attractive areas for accumulating inventory, right? So what I want to say is, if 14K is tested, again, this is not a forecast. You have to be prepared. You have to account for that possibility. The question you should be asking is right now, if you're looking to be an investor, right? And now I'm switching over to the investor perspective. If you're looking to be an investor, if Bitcoin goes to 14K over the next couple of weeks, how is that going to affect you? Is that going to margin you out of your position? Are you going to be stressed out? Are you going to be not being able to sleep at night? Is your wife going to leave you? I mean, that's, if the answer to any of those questions is yes, that means you're too big and you're too big too early. That's what that means, okay? In this situation like this, if we're going to test 14K, that can be an opportunity to accumulate some more inventory, but you have to keep it small. Like I said earlier, I'm putting together like a portfolio plan, all right, for basically the next 6 months, next year type of outlook, and with basically allocations, all right, based on a certain target amount. Like for example, I'm most likely going to set up a $10,000 portfolio. Why 10,000? Because I think that's a reasonable number. It's not too much, it's not too little. And if you have more than that, you can just basically match the percentages, right? But 10,000 is a nice round number for a model portfolio. And Bitcoin is obviously one of the things I'm looking at for that portfolio. But the categories, it's going to be a speculative high risk portfolio, the whole thing, which means if you have a larger amount of money, like let's say you have $100,000, it's not a good idea to put all of that into such a portfolio. This portfolio should basically take up one section of your entire position, your net worth or whatever you want to call that, right? So let's say it's 100,000. This portfolio should make basically up 10%, right? $10,000. You should not be 100% invested in highly speculative assets that can go to zero. That's irresponsible. So anyway, but that's going to be the idea. And then I'm going to be researching and identifying highly speculative stocks, growth stocks, potentially altcoins, because I would like to have some exposure in that space, and things like Bitcoin, right, and some other assets. So that's the idea. Now that's going to be coming out over the next few weeks. I'm not going to share all of that publicly. Now, here's the thing. So you guys got that with this 14K? So I'm telling you now. So here's the scenario. If it goes to 14K, you should have a plan to accumulate some. And that plan should be based on a larger amount. So for example, if $5,000 is your allocation, then you should probably be perhaps buying 1% at that location with the idea of perhaps accumulating more if this thing tests 10K, right? The idea is to account for the risk. What if it goes to 5K? That's why you don't want to get too big too fast. keep this in mind. If Bitcoin eventually turns around, which is likely, especially if the Federal Reserve really starts to get dovish, which I don't believe that yet, okay? And I don't see the signs either. Just because the guy says something doesn't exactly equate to evidence. So if they start getting dovish and easy money starts to work its way back into the market, and these markets find a bottom, first of all, you should have some inventory that you've been accumulating as we develop into that process, as the market develops the bottom. When the market turns and starts working its way higher, it's not going to go, Bitcoin is not going to go from 10K to 50K in one day. I hope you realize that. There will be plenty of opportunity to accumulate more at higher prices, okay? But we'll have the trend on our side. We'll have structure on our side. And most importantly, we will have a monetary environment or an economic environment that's on our side. That is primarily what you need. And that is primarily what we are missing right now. And everyone keeps trying to argue that, oh, no, it's changing, it's changing. Oh, the Fed is going to turn. He's still raising rates, just at a lower pace. And they're expecting that, okay, he signaled that he's going to basically stop. That's just an assumption, okay? You don't know what he's going to do. Stop trying to think that you can outthink the Federal Reserve, okay? No one, everyone thinks they have this, they just apply some logic. Well, he has to do this. But are you Chairman Powell? Do you know him personally? Has he told you what he's going to do? It's all speculation. So focus on the risk. So I just laid out, in the case that we test 14K, how you should navigate that, okay? Do not go all in. Do not think that's a bottom. The bottoming of any market is a process. It's not going to be, oh, it touched there, and now we're going to rally because I want it to. It's not like that. It takes time. And what I was arguing earlier is that we are now at a time where this is a great time to be researching, okay? This is a great time to be putting your ideas together, looking for those high potential ideas or those moderate risk ideas, and now start forming your accumulation plans. Now is the time to start with that, not when the market is pushing highs. Now, why now if I don't think we're at the bottom? Because the bottom may be developing over the next 6 months. I think based where we are in the economic cycle, I think we may start to see that. And that is, again, if certain things line up, like we get an easier Fed. He gave us a little hint, but we have to see how he follows through. If he doesn't follow through and we really get hammered, then you at least prepared, right? And you shouldn't have a lot of money exposed at that time. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's my Bitcoin talk. How am I doing with time? All right, that was about enough time on that. Let me know if you guys have any questions specifically about my Bitcoin analysis. So basically, we have a sell signal developing. I'm not looking to do anything here. It's either swing trade long at the test of low, all right, which is aggressive, accumulation at the 14K area, or swing trade short at the 18K high. I just laid it out for you in less than in a minute, okay? All right, let me go start looking at some people's questions here. What do I have over here? So let me just say some hellos. I got Steen, of course. Hey, Steen. Still in for potential short in the euro. If we would work with the trailing stop loss. Okay, good question, Steen. We'll take a look at the euro. Hey, Mr. Plow. Okay. Hey, Levant. Okay, we'll take a look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Okay. Okay. All right, cool. So let's start with the euro. All right, hold on a second here. Let me move this thing out of my way. All right, hold on. Okay. So let's start with the euro. All right. Now, I pointed this out earlier. I was interested in this euro short. Where are we now? 104.84. This euro sucks. Okay, I got stopped out twice. This was complete nonsense, this move here. But that's the market. Okay. So here's the thing. This thing closes like this. Like I said, I'm most likely going to call another short. Right. The stop is going to have to go way up here. What is this? 106 basically. It went to 105.94. I'm gonna have to put that thing at like 106.50. Okay. But so Steen's question is, if we would work with a trailing stop, so 100 pips, Steen, to answer your question. This thing goes. I mean, the target on this though is going to be bigger. All right. My previous target was 300 pips. I'm targeting the midpoint of the range. This is going to be a lot bigger than that. It's going to be a lot bigger than 300 pips. I don't know if we're going to get that, but that's my target. That's going to be my target, not these supports, because I believe that this is This whole move on the euro is just hot air. It's nonsense, right? That's what I believe because of the larger structures and because of where we are in the dollar. I explained all of that earlier. I suspect these supports will break. These levels right here, this would be a good place to take profit off the table if you're putting on multiple contracts. That would be a good place for that if we're justifying the risk, and we should be by that point, right? I mean, what's this thing right now? 80, 84, 80, 83. So you figure like 100 pips, right? 100 pips of risk. And what is this over here? 290. That's over 100 pips, right? If you're shorting this thing, let's say you're shorting it at 104.50, right? So if fooling around over here is what, 103.92. Okay, actually, so it'd have to be lower, right? And it'd probably have to be in the lower part of this rectangle. This would be a good area to start taking something off the table. But to answer your question about trailing the stop, that thing goes 100 pips in your favor. That's when I'm going to trail. That's when I'm going to start trailing. You don't want to start trailing too soon because you get knocked right out of it. I think 100 pips is reasonable. It may, like in this case, so far in those two previous trades, each one was up 100 pips before it turned, and each one would have been a break even. Okay, so keep in mind the probability of breaking even is going to be high. So I think 100 pips, or if you want to be a little more aggressive with that, maybe 150 pips. So if it's 150 pips your way, stop to break even. Okay. And just keep in mind, it can break even. Some stupid news comes out, some nonsense comes out, and this thing is pushing 106. So please keep that in mind. All right. The markets are irrational. I wasn't buying into this for a second that this is a bullish trend. And here we are with the selling again. All right. So that answers your question on the euro. Let's see what I have here on TradingView. Hey, TradingView people, come on. Where are my questions? I only see like 2 questions over here. How many people do I have watching me on TradingView? Do I have to start yelling at people? Let's see. Okay. Oh, no, it's all right. It's not bad. It's not bad. Okay. I'm not going to yell at you guys. We're cool. All right. So let me see what kind of questions we have here. mbtn. Okay. I'll take a look at that. Sure. I don't see your screen share. Okay, Bergs, I answered that right at the beginning of the stream. So mbtn. You got to refresh the screen. All right. So this is a stock. And let's see what you have to say about this. Okay, hold on. Stock 6, a Swiss manufacturer. Okay. Okay, got it. 6, got it. Okay. The weekly chart looks like an altcoin. Okay, let's take a look at the weekly chart then. Weekly chart. All right. Yes, it certainly does. Look at that. Okay, hold on a second here. Let's see. Okay, I'm just checking something. Okay, cool. Yes, that looks like a weekly chart. So let's take a look at this here. It's an interesting chart. You have, if we look back to basically the beginning of the year, just around there, just a little further, about a year ago, right? Something like that. I mean, look at the level where it came off of, right? That's a really interesting consolidation. Look where we are now. This is a significant level, okay? This level right here is a significant level. So it's an interesting move, but not a good place for longs. If you were thinking long, you're just getting sucked into the nonsense. This is a high risk area. So if you're not long, you missed it. If you're long, this is a great place to take money off the table, no question. In fact, you can see some people started. Look at the tail on this candle right before it. That's the previous week's candle. So this is a high risk area for longs. You said they're a solar company. They're in the solar sector. All right. But you know all the hype in that sector. So anyway, yeah. So right off the bat, no longs. All right. I mean, even though, look, you're getting the long signal here. I see why you may be interested in this thing. You have this pullback followed by this green inside bar, takes out the high of the bar, right? You have another buy signal. That would be more appropriate if you wanted to perhaps add some, or a smaller amount, or you wanted to give the trade more of a chance because, hey, why get out if it's giving you another buy signal, right? But the thing is, to put on a new position here, it's highly risky. Even though it looks nice, it looks good, you cannot lose sight of these levels, okay? This thing can easily maybe tap it just a little higher, suck the whole world in long, and then the party's over, right? You don't want to take that kind of risk, or at least I don't like taking that kind of risk. There is a buy signal. If you want to be aggressive with that, you can put the stop at, what is that, 49 cents? That's a cheap stock. 49 cents. whatever. What is that in? Is that in dollars? It's probably not in dollars. It's in franc. Okay, it's in francs. So you can use that to define your risk, but you're very likely to get stopped out. This structure looks nice, yes, it does, but you're at a location where chances are its potential is limited. That's the way I would look at it in terms of risk. Don't be mesmerized or fooled by this. Okay. If you're interested in a long, a much better, more attractive price area would be here. Right? And there's a number of reasons for that. You have all these consolidations, you have old levels back here, and that's around the 44 cent, 44 and a half area, 44 cents, 4464, right around there. That's what you're looking at. A pullback to that and a new buy signal there would be more reasonable than buying it here. Does that make sense? So I would give that a chance. I don't know what your position is on something like that. If it breaks these supports, like this midpoint area support, then it probably would be a good idea to just step aside. Just like it broke back here, it broke and then it tested much lower, right? The range low. You have a support level right now in this zone right here. See this? All this price action here, that's actually likely to translate into a support over here. So keep that in mind, okay? That's how I would work with that one in terms of risk and location. Okay, so good question. That's mbtn. Let's see what else I got here. Okay, Levant, BTC. So you like these cross pairs, huh? I'm never a big fan of these cross pairs. They are very confusing usually, especially with two unstable currencies. So here's your Ethereum in terms of Bitcoin. Again, you really, you're better off using the parent instrument, Bitcoin or Ethereum. In this case, this is basically a reflection of Ethereum against Bitcoin. So if the price is going higher, obviously Ethereum is moving higher faster than Bitcoin. That's what that means, right? So the problem is when they start moving at around the same pace and they're not really making, you're going to get this nonsense, and you're going to see all kinds of fake outs and signals and this and that. I don't really know what to tell you about this chart. You can, go to a weekly, right? Look at the ranges on the weekly and basically identify the ranges. You have these consolidation, that range right there, and use that as your guide. Anything inside of that, especially like toward the midpoint here, like this is going to be a very random area and just nothing but trouble. Okay, so if you're looking to short Ethereum versus Bitcoin, I would say wait for a test of extreme. That means you're going to need a rally, and Ethereum is going to have to move at a much greater pace to get up there. Okay, otherwise it's just going to gyrate and do nothing. And that would be a place to consider shorting the pair. Something like this is almost like an arbitrage type of situation, right? Sort of, not exactly, but you're basically playing a relationship, and that relationship either expands or it contracts, right? So in this case, Ethereum would have to outpace Bitcoin, and then it would have to stop, okay, or go lower faster, right? Same with over here. So look for the extreme points, and then that would be the place to consider it. But like I said, if you're interested in Ethereum outright, just work with Ethereum or work with Bitcoin. It's hard to work with them both like this, right? And basically work like a Forex pair. It can kind of drive you crazy. So wait for extreme points. That's what I would suggest. There's no trend right now in this thing. You're just overlapping all over the place, okay? So I hope that answers your question. Again, I'm not a big fan of those type of pairs. I like to see things that are against something stable, like the US dollar. All right, let me, so good question. Let's see what else. Great stuff. Okay, cool. Fox, thoughts on Nasdaq. Okay, cool. Nasdaq's a market I like to look at. All right, so we got the stock market here, the Nasdaq 100. All right, I'm looking at the CFD, and this is the weekly chart. Now, here's the thing. It's good that we're starting out with the weekly chart. All that nonsense that we had from Chairman Powell, and everyone thought that we're going to rally, blah blah blah. This is developing into a lower high. Now the week just began, so don't know how this is going to finish. But look where we are, right? Highly probable lower high. Look at the structure we're in: lower high, lower low. So if this turns into a lower high, a lower low is likely. So I'm still bearish on this. I'm no way I'm bullish, especially in light of the bond market. Okay, so I never bought into that optimism for a second. I saw the levels that we're at. If in order for Nasdaq to get something, to do something spectacular on the long side, we need to clear resistance levels. Okay, we need to clear them. We're not even close. We're just fooling around. Nasdaq can fool around inside this entire range and get everyone long. Meanwhile, we just consolidate into the range high only to test the low again. That's possible. That's the kind of situation we're looking at. That's the weekly chart. Okay, so the weekly, I have to say, is bearish. On the short term. Now, when we go to our smaller time frame, again, I told people, don't buy into this garbage. This is just complete irrational hype, reaction to nonsense. We reversed in an area. Now, if you watch my day-to-day streams, I talked about this. I talked about failing there, and we are now showing the evidence of that. The market closes here in 20 minutes. It looks like we're going to get an inside bar, a bearish inside bar. We take out this low tomorrow. I would then be looking for lows over here on the NASDAQ. I wouldn't get too crazy on the bear side though. Like, don't sit there. Although the market, I think, the structure favors more dramatic lows, I would not anticipate this right away. All right. And the reason for that is you have to look at the period of time that we're in. Seasonally, everyone's very optimistic right now. And everyone's all about, being happy. I mean, you go to the supermarket and they're playing Christmas music. I mean, come on. But that's what they do. Why? Because it gets you in the mood. It makes you feel good and you buy things. So the market, like I always like to say, is a derivative of human nature. If everyone is happy, you're likely to see that being reflected in prices. So be careful. You have to be careful about being short. So shorting this, options are a great choice, a great way to get involved in this thing without, a great way to control your risk in case you're wrong. Like, basically, what if you had shorted this low and then you sit through that Powell speech and this thing's up 500 points? This is not pleasant to sit through when you're short. All right. So anyway, keep in mind, if you're shorting this thing, targeting this area right here, the midpoint, that's within reason. Okay. And you may see a test of that, but I would not get excited about new lows. All right. Not yet. We need to get out of this holiday mode first. Okay. And we need a bearish catalyst that's really going to push this thing along. All right. So please keep that in mind. So the structure and everything, yeah, I'm all about bearish. I wouldn't be buying this thing. There's no pullback to buy here. Even as an investor, I'm going to be looking for highly speculative stocks, but I recognize where we are. I know where this is not an ideal time to buy. I just want to start slow accumulation, very slow and very small, right? And I want to use more of the time to research and pick these particular stocks out, even though, there's no bottom in sight here. Okay. There's this potentially, this could turn out to be a bottom, possibly, if we test it again. But right now, looks like consolidation, lower high consolidation, right? Which lower low is likely. We have to see. This is going to be a function of the bond market as well. All right. So good question. I hope that answers your question. I know I kind of, I make the argument more toward the bear side, but I just have to warn you about that sentiment situation. Okay. So don't get excited. Hey, Trojan, from Bristol. Erdia. I got another London. Oh, no, I was going to say London. You're not from London. You're from Bristol. Erdia. Have some iced tea. Can you give thoughts on USD? Okay, sure. USD LAK. Let's take a look. What is that? USD LAK. How is that? Is that a? Okay. So, oh man, is this for real? What is this, man? I'm not really crazy about that looking chart, but let's look at the weekly chart. Oh my. I mean, okay, so obviously, whatever that is, it's getting hammered, right? The dollar is just really strong against it, and that's after a dollar pullback. So the dollar continues to rally. This thing is just poised to break higher. I don't know what to tell you with this. There's no levels. What is this thing? There's no levels on this, okay? I mean, it's just a vertical line. So what do you do here? Well, something like this, I mean, there's no structure, barely. You can't even count waves on this thing. So you're betting on the dollar, right? So you'll have to use the dollar the US dollar index as your reference. That dollar is poised to work its way higher, which means this thing is likely to work its way higher. In a situation like this where you have no reference points, right? You have to use the dollar. Basically, if you take a position, you'll have to basically define your risk from either here, or really tight over here. Either way, that thing turns the wrong way on you, meaning dollar breaks its supports, then this thing will probably break too, and you'll have to get out. Don't make the mistake of thinking that just because it looks like this, that you're at the midpoint and it's just going to continue like that. Things usually don't continue like that when they look beautiful. This is a beautiful looking thing, but use the dollar as your reference. Okay, that's what I would say about that. Use the dollar index. Man, it's crazy looking chart. And I thought altcoins were nuts. Yeah, look at that. Okay, anyway, so thanks for pointing that out. Certainly one to keep an eye on. But again, you're looking at the dollar. So let me jump over here to the other stream. Let's see what's going on. What are you guys saying over here? Okay, Verve. Okay, Alex, you want to see Verve? It's a stock. Verve. What's this thing? Therapeutics. Okay. So see, these type of stocks are interesting. In fact, I'm looking at a few for longer term stuff. These all depend on, these are not as correlated, right, to the market. That's why I like these more. These are particularly good choices for day trades, especially when they depend on FDA approvals and all that. All right, so let's look at this from the swing trade time frame, and let's go to a weekly chart. All right. Okay, so first of all, you don't really have a trend here, right? You have this structure. It pulled back, got hammered, right? Okay, fine, and it's pulled back again. After look at this nice higher low, higher high, attempt at higher high, and completely gave it back. Now, these are news driven. These are usually very particular to their industry, right? That type of thing. Now, in this situation right now, you have a test of low. It's like a double bottom situation. It's a nice pullback relative to this structure, okay? Relative to this structure. And you have a bullish pin bar. That's on the weekly, but of course, it's only one day, right? That's just today. So let's go to that. It's going to be the same candle. So this closes like that. You have yourself a swing trade buy signal. All right. Now, just keep in mind, this thing is likely to just do its own thing. So you don't have to worry too much about the S&P and Nasdaq. I mean, look, this thing is minus $2.78. But look at this candle. Have you seen the Nasdaq and S&P today? Right? They look like complete garbage. And this thing is coming off of its low. All right. So that's no problem. The question is, how do you define your risk? And where do you look for targets? Your risk is going to be the bottom of the pin bar. That's 18.5. That's a couple of points, right? You're going to be targeting this gap over here because those gaps typically act as support or resistance levels. That's not something that I made up. And then the low of that gap is $30. All right. So the midpoint of that gap is going to be what is that? Like $28. So, and you're right now at 21. So looking to make maybe about $6 to $7, maybe something like that, and you're risking about $3. That's reasonable. That's reasonable, and you're not even looking for like a major. You're not even looking for the trend to completely reassert itself. All you're looking for is a test of resistance. I like that. I like the idea as a long. That might be a good one to share. Maybe I'll share that one as a swing trade long, possibly. Along with the euro. Well, the euro's a short anyway. But thanks for pointing this out, Verve. Very nice looking chart. I like it. My students should completely understand everything that I just said, right? And you guys should be able to make sense of that as far as putting the trade idea together. Cool. Please share your thought on Ethereum as well. Okay, I'm sorry, I skipped Ethereum, Shara, sorry about that. All right, so Ethereum. All right, here's the thing. Let me actually, let me see, let me get the right chart up over here. Ethereum. I have charts with levels on it. Is this the one? Okay, yeah, we'll work with this one. So look, Ethereum is going to be, whatever I say about Bitcoin is basically Ethereum is just going to follow it. Okay, so always remember that. It looks exactly the same. Oh, I'm sorry, it looks exactly the same because it's Bitcoin. That's why it looks the same. I clicked on Bitcoin. But what I just said, though, is the same thing, right? So Ethereum, there we go, Coinbase. So it's basically the same thing. You have it consolidating. Look at the consolidation range. Bitcoin sold off, right? This is the FTX situation right there, the sell-off. Look at this Ethereum situation, okay? It's stuck inside this consolidation. These levels are no surprise. Look where it is. There's nothing to do here, all right? The bigger picture on Ethereum is, again, you're following Bitcoin. So bigger picture on Bitcoin says bearish. This is going to pretty much be bearish too. I don't care what kind of nonsense they come out with it. Wherever Bitcoin goes, this thing goes. Keep in mind, all of these coins, particularly altcoins like Ethereum and all these other ones, they are going to go into a heavy regulatory period coming soon. And that is not good, okay? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's no way to know how the regulations are going to affect it. Everyone's just shrugging it off. Oh, regulations are a good thing. Nothing to worry about. You don't know. They may come out and say something that is really bad for Ethereum, right? Like if they determine that these are securities in the eyes of a regulator, and now the SEC gets to regulate these things, then that means a lot of these coins are going to have a hard time doing their business, because now they're going to have to pay all kinds of fees and all kinds of stuff just to operate, things that they don't pay right now because they're just pocketing everything. Okay, so it's going to make things harder for them, and that may make them less attractive for people to buy into. Please keep that in mind. So the structure is generally bearish. I would treat this just like a mini Bitcoin, right? Look for the test of low, right, which would be equivalent to Bitcoin at 15K. Look for the break of low, which would basically be equivalent to Bitcoin at 14K, right? That kind of thing. There's a sell signal developing now, but like I said, I don't like the location, right? So if you're looking to short Ethereum, this is a really tough spot to do it. You're better off waiting for an old resistance, which is going to be up here. Okay, an old support, which is around the 1423 area. That's the place to be looking for a short if you're looking for shorts. If you're looking for longs, again, wait for the test of low. Be patient, because there's likely a test of low coming, especially with the uncertain period that we're going into. Any bullishness you have to be very suspicious of. Okay, I'm sorry. I know people think I'm a perma bear. Some people accuse me of being a perma bull, but I'm actually more bullish in general, right, on the space. But I'm just extremely cautious, and I'm not excited about what these things have to face. Now, maybe they get through it, and eventually we have the easy money come back into the system, and then some of these will be poised to do something again. But right now, if Ethereum is one of the ones that you want to accumulate, you can think of it that way, accumulation, but small. Account for this thing testing 1,000. Account for Bitcoin being at 12K. Do that, adjust for that, and be prepared. I'm not saying we're going to go there. Please don't misunderstand me, because I don't know if we're going to go there. I see what the structure says. I don't see anything positive developing here. Something can change, but this thing can test those lower prices. Don't be too heavy. That's all I can say. Okay. I want to be long too. And, I want to see these things rally too, but we have to accept objective facts, not optimism and all this other nonsense that is constantly put in our faces. Please stop listening to these people. They only look for attention, because your attention is worth money. Except for me, because, since I stream like this, YouTube doesn't reward me for your attention. And I give you the most value. Anyway, okay, so Jay, hey, Joel, how are you? GDX, looking for an entry. All right, let's take a look. Isn't that gold? GDX, isn't that one of the gold ETFs? Gold miners, is that the correct one? So when you're dealing with these, first of all, you have to keep an eye on gold, right? Now, so let's just take a look at gold real quick, right? Let's go to the CFD of gold. Gold, we should not be surprised. This whole nonsense with gold, and the euro, right? It's all the same. It was just a function of the dollar getting beat up. I wasn't buying into this gold for a second, that gold is going anywhere, because we're still in a rising rate environment. So I don't care what people say. If rates are still rising, even if they're still rising by a little bit, it's not a positive for these things. There's still going to be bearish pressure. So I don't buy into this for a second, right? I suspect gold is, if anything, gold continues this consolidation. Look what we're coming off of, right? So that's just a range. All of this is just meaningless overlap. I suspect we test the midpoint of the range, especially because of the location of where we're failing right now. I suspect we test that, okay? So if that's the case, and we do test something like that, GDX is likely to feel the pressure, okay? So, look, the charts look very similar, right? So GDX is generally going to follow this chart. Use XAU as your guide. Now, so you're looking to take a position. What I would say about this is it's too early, okay? Because you're at that range high on gold. If you're looking to start accumulating, at least give it a chance to test this old resistance here. That would be the $25, 25 half. You're at 28, almost 29 right now. So this thing can pull back a nice 3 points, right? If you can't contain yourself and you must have a little, well, small, very small, small enough so that if it goes to like let me give you an example. Let's say you were looking to buy 100 shares, right? That's what you want to buy. You don't have to buy all 100 shares here. Buy 5 shares, buy 10 shares, something that you don't really care. And as it goes lower, buy maybe another 10 shares until you get to your 100 shares. Maybe as this thing pulls all the way back, okay, and it starts pushing these lower prices, maybe at that point, maybe you'll only have 50 shares accumulated of the original 100 that you wanted to buy, okay? And then, now you're getting in at a better and better average price. You're averaging into it. I don't have to explain that whole process to you, you understand, but that's how I would treat something like that. Go small. These levels are far from attractive. What if gold tests these lows, okay, and you're still not in your full 100 shares? That'd be a great opportunity to buy some more shares, okay, assuming that 100 is your target amount that you're looking for. So now you spread your risk out dramatically over that 100 shares instead of all at one price. All right, I'm really saying that more for the benefit of others. I know you're more advanced. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. It's too early. Use gold, okay? And wait for that $25 area. That's probably a more ideal area, and I think you have a chance of seeing that. Hey, Matt. Okay, cool. I appreciate that. I am still working on exiting trades with intent. A lot of winners turned. Okay, hey, Matt, I feel your pain. I mean, if you've been following my Euro trades, and me and Steen, we got caught in that nonsense too. I mean, I had 100 pips twice, and it turned into a 150 pip loss, like twice. So it sucks. The exits and why, I saw the profit, but why wasn't I quick to get out? Because the risk wasn't justified. So in those situations, as I've been explaining, Matt, what you want to do is really, it's not about getting out with the profit. That's the wrong focus. It's about mitigating your risk. So really your focus should be trailing the stop, not, I lost, I gave back this profit. The profit, if you're not justifying your risk, then theoretically it's not a good time to get out. There's some occasions where if you have a clear conflicting signal, like, all right, you know what, this thing sucks, and you're only up like 10 pips or whatever, take the money and get out, right? Just get out and consider it like a break even. But I was up 100 pips, I need to give it a chance. Just get out. That's, you have to be strict with it in this environment, because again, we've been having the same problem with the euro. Things are just all over the place. You're better off breaking even. Okay, so focus on that. Focus on learning how to move your stop to break even and at what threshold you should have before you start moving. Don't start moving it too early. Okay, Steen, could you also have a look at DB1? Okay, if tomorrow we would be bullish pin bar, would this be an area for possible long? Take the euro into account. All right, well, the euro can have an effect on that. All right, so let me take a look at that, and then I'll jump over back to TradingView here and see what's going on with you guys. All right. So I'm just trying to follow 2 chats. So DB1. Okay, on the German exchange here. Oh, so I mean, what does this look like to you guys? Does this not look like the euro? It looks like the euro, right? It looks like gold. I think this is another dollar index play, what we have going on here. I mean, look at that. So now you're asking, Steen, if this would be a long. No effing way. I mean, I have to use effing to make it a little more dramatic in there. No effing way is this a long. You're asking about a long? No way. No way. No way. I could see why you would think that, because of this right here. It's a support. Okay, it's a previous resistance. But the thing is, I don't see it that way. You know what I see? I see a fake out zone. That's what this is. That's a fake out zone, just like gold. All right, and just like the euro has a kind of a similar situation. And yes, I do believe that the euro will have an effect on this. So I would not be, it's too early to look for longs. That's not the type of support. Now, a day trade is another story, right? But we're not talking about a day trade here. So if you're looking for longs on a situation like this, you need to see this support. Okay, this would be much more reasonable. That's not a fake out zone. Okay, where we are right now is. So I hope that answers your question. Good question. And that can be tricky. So yeah, euro, I would take the euro into account for that. Good question. All right, so let me jump over to the other chart, the other people here. So I went over USD LAK from the guy from Bristol. Okay, what about gold? I went over, well, gold, the metal. I went over XAU. I showed that briefly, so I don't have to go like, hey, Milad, how are you? Milad, you were at the Comedy Cellar, and you never invited me. I take offense to that. I'm joking. Okay, cool. Wow, where is that place? I used to go to some places way back in the day. I don't think I've been to that. Is that like in the village area there? I know there's a few of them. I could tell you some stories about some of the old clubs that I don't think are there anymore. Anyway, cool. I know we have to get together one of these days. Make sure Mike is invite Mayor Mike, because we need someone to pay the bill. We need a billionaire to pay the bill. Okay. Hey, Achilles, how are you? The yield curve between the 2-year and 10-year bond has inverted. Okay, inversed. This means recession coming, right? Well, yes. Okay, good question. If this is the case, then Bitcoin and stocks may go very low. All right, so this is a very good question about recession. Let's take a quick look. What do you say? The 10-year and the 2-year, when they invert, I'm not going to spend all the time showing that here, but I'll explain it. Let's see. Can I show? I would like to show that. Let me see something here. Let's see if I could put that up here. So we have ZN1, right? That's the 10-year. This is the 10-year note. I mean, we should see the inversion. You're talking about the yields, right? The yields invert, the inverted yield curve. So we're looking at prices here. So let's see, I can actually add the 2-year. Let's see, I don't know the symbol for the 2-year. Let's see, 2-year. Let me see. Will it take it? Okay, look, 2-year, right? US 2-year. That's the yield. I want the 2-year note. Can I get the 2-year note? Let's see here. Nope. Let's see. Will it take it? ZN. Well, I know ZN1. Maybe I should type in ZN. Hold on. Let's see if I can find the 2-year note on here. Let's see. I don't want to mess with that. It's going to take me too long. All right, but anyway, the point is, to answer your question, yes, when they invert, that means a sign of recession. But it's a very slow. It's a lagging thing. Okay. So here's the mistake not to make. Don't assume just because they're inverted now that it means we're going to see new lows. Don't assume that. While it is a possibility, the market trades in the future. Okay, so the yield inversion means that we're looking at a possible recession, but if other factors change the perception, they're going to just shrug that off. So yeah, we have it now, and that means general we should be thinking in recessionary terms, but don't form an opinion like that. I mean, you said here, is this the case? Bitcoin and stocks may go very low. Don't get stuck on that. Okay, you have to watch and see, because I watched this 10-year note, and if the 10-year note cannot make a lower low and we just stay inside this range and eventually we break out, of course we're going to need some Fed help for that. We're going to need a lot of help for that. But if we see something like that, eventually, the things will probably improve before the yield curve improves. So please keep that in mind. Okay, that's why, again, like, I'm accounting for test of 14K. I'm accounting for a test of 10K, but I am not going to sit there and go into that with any kind of solid opinion, because I know that it's just, it can change. And I know better not to forecast these things with any absoluteness. Does that make sense? All right. So I hope that answers your question. I know I really talk a lot, and it takes me a long time to answer simple questions. So yeah, so good question. Okay. CoinCon. If I am thinking of shorting Bitcoin, would BITI inverse ETF be safer place? BITI. Let's take a look. If you're thinking of shorting Bitcoin, because there's a number of ways. So this is the ProShares Trust Short Bitcoin Strategy ETF. Some of these ETFs can be a pain, as far as, like, sometimes you have to pay premiums for them and blah blah blah. But at least this is a stock. So you can play with shares, and you can play with you can control your size nice and easy, because you can buy one share of this, right? So as far as a short goes, yeah, this is not bad. If you can handle any of the nonsense going on with the, I mean, this chart's not a great looking chart, but this is not a bad choice. All right, if you're looking to short it, I mean, so if you're shorting Bitcoin, basically you're buying this thing. I mean, look at this. Look at the location. You have a buy signal developing, but you cannot use this chart. You cannot use this chart to play that instrument. You have to use Bitcoin. Okay, you have to use, because this chart is this chart is like a derivative of a derivative. Stay away from that. Just use Bitcoin. I would agree with the idea. It's a good instrument. Or I mean, or you can just short Bitcoin outright or whatever. But this is a nice choice, as a substitute for if you don't have a margin account, with one of these exchanges or whatever. And plus, it's a stock, and it's at least in a regulated market at least. Okay, so you have that going for you. So good question. Good question. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. All right, Snow White. Thanks for all the knowledge. Can you please share your opinion on EGold? EGold. EGold guy. I remember I used to have a guy in here saying that it's okay, yeah, okay. I mean, you may be the same guy. There was a guy that said, "Oh, yeah, EGold. I know I have some inside information on EGold." He was telling us. This is a while back. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah? Yeah, EGold is going to be big," he says. It's going to be really big. And yeah, you got inside information. Why are you telling us? You're not supposed to tell anyone if you have inside information. You keep that to yourself, right? Oh, yeah, it's going to be big. Yeah, that a respected trader that he followed. Oh, yeah, EGold. That was a while ago. I guess it hasn't gotten big yet. Okay, so look, EGold, I don't know what the story. I don't know why this thing is so hyped. I really don't. I don't care about who the team is. I don't care about how excellent the project is. All of that is just talk. Okay, the chart sucks. Number one, this chart is horrendous. You're sitting on the low, nothing but lower highs. Look at this lower high consolidation. This thing is not going anywhere until that level is taken out. First of all, technically, that's at 69.60. All right, this is EGold against Tether. Right now, this thing's at $43. I mean, if Bitcoin breaks, this thing is going to likely test lower. So yeah, I could see the attractiveness of the level. Let's just go to a weekly chart here. I mean, come on. Look at this thing. Someone got sucked into this. Man, how high was this? Oh, man. Where's the top? 544? Oh. Please understand something about these altcoins. These are a vehicle to rob you, okay? So again, in light of the regulation that's coming, how is this thing going to fare? I don't know, but this chart sucks. That's all I can tell you. I don't care how great their story is. It doesn't mean a thing. Cardano is also a great story. We see where that thing is. It's garbage. Treat them all like penny stocks. So if you're looking to invest in this thing, I would consider this extreme high speculative, small. If someone told, this thing, man, this thing just goes halfway to 250, you're going to make billions, right? That's all I can say. I don't even have words for it, okay? And I'm being harsh because you're just looking to get robbed, all right? I've heard about this one before. People have hyped this one for me before, and that was back here, okay, or whatever. That was back here when it was being hyped, and look how much worse it got. So I'm highly suspect, right? I'm very skeptical of something like this. So you have to treat that like the entire space, highly speculative. All right, if you want it to be part of your portfolio, small. And again, as long as we don't have easy money monetary policy, this thing is going nowhere. It has no potential until we have an easier Fed. And that's going to be the same for all the growth stocks, right? All the penny stocks and all the other altcoins. And that is if the altcoins can get through the regulation. We may not be able to buy a lot of them anymore. They're going to have to move somewhere else if they don't want to be regulated. It's going to change the whole thing, right? I suspect if we have, the next round, the next bull run, I suspect it will be made up of coins. If we can have coins, I suspect it will be coins that we don't know about. Okay, meaning like they don't exist yet or that kind of thing. So I'm on the radar. Like Steen had pointed out a little while back, looking for these up and coming coins at hackathons and stuff like that. EGold is not an up and coming coin. This is old news. So please keep that in mind. I know I'm very negative and very pessimistic about it, but that is how you have to be with these things. Okay, these are not assets, or there's really no value to them. So anyway, thank you for asking. I know I hammered you on EGold there, but it's just because I've gotten so much hype on that, and it really bothers me when I get a lot of hype and it's just complete nonsense. Okay, and if people get sucked into that, I certainly don't want to have a hand in that. Okay, so okay, from Scotland. Can I do a Scottish accent? No, I can't do a Scottish accent. I'm sorry. What are your thoughts on Facebook? Okay, I have to wrap this up here in a minute, but I'll take a couple more questions. So look, Facebook's got problems. First of all right, never mind fundamentally. Let's not get onto the fundamental problems. Let's just talk about it from the technical standpoint. Now, understand something. This is the weekly chart. Facebook is a mainstream stock. It's actually at the bottom of the S&P right now. Okay, so wherever the main market goes, this is likely to go. As we saw now Facebook's trying to be a little optimistic here, as we can see over previous weeks. It's trying to work its way higher. But look at the recent structure. All right, I don't buy this for a second. This thing sucks. First of all, and I'm hard on Facebook too, because this is another one that's full of a lot of nonsense. The party's over for Facebook, and you have all these resistances. I mean, never mind fundamentally. We're just talking technically here. This trend is still intact, bearish trend. You have a resistance that it's trying to work its way into. Any kind of bullishness, this is just nonsense. This is just noise. This is just, whatever, some positive news sucking people into Facebook. You're likely to see a lower high develop and a lower low follow, especially if the S&P gets hammered. Okay. So, I mean, speaking of that, right, this is the weekly chart. We saw that Nasdaq chart earlier. Let's just take a look at this real quick, right? I mean, that's the S&P. So, yeah, Facebook conveniently rallied, okay, while S&P had this little situation over here, right? The optimistic Santa rally there. And we pull back to those lows. Where do you think Facebook is going? Use this as your guide. Use the Nasdaq as your guide, okay? Not the stock itself. All right, so I hope that gives you some perspective there. Thank you for asking. And I think you're like my first follower from Scotland. I need some more followers from over there. Cool. All right. Yeah, I don't know I can't say anything in Scottish. All right. Trojan, for context on the KIP is a currency of, which is a country I have links to. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Man, their currency sucks. So, man, you have a couple of dollars. You could probably buy a house for $10 over there. All right. Thanks for letting me know. I wasn't familiar with that. I've heard of the country, but I wasn't familiar with the currency. Okay, cool. Always learn something new. All right, Stian, could you also have a look? Okay, got that. Resistance, okay. Levant, the question about is because ETH looks like it's protecting its value compared to Bitcoin. Would you think investing in ETH might be a better idea instead of Bitcoin? With the regulation, I think the risks are still there because Ethereum may be considered a security. I saw arguments about that where Bitcoin is clearly not a security. There's when they have that test of is it a security or not, Bitcoin is not. Ethereum is. So I wouldn't go by, Bitcoin's not as popular. I wouldn't go by that. That's just anecdotal. Okay. We have to see how things go with the regulation. Can Ethereum get through the regulation, or do they have to open up their books and show everyone what's really going on behind the scenes, which is going to be a requirement, right? You can't do that for Bitcoin because there is no one with books. So please keep that in mind. Okay. What do you think? I'm of course not going to short. Okay. All right. No problem. So yeah, I mean, as far as investing in Ethereum versus Bitcoin or just Ethereum, you have to keep the regulatory horizon in mind. In fact, I'm looking to put some things in the channel that we're in. I'm looking to put some things in there to help out with that. It's going to take me a little time to get that done, but I really want to monitor the regulation over the next few months. Really want to keep an eye on regulators because sometimes they put out a quiet message that no one pays attention to, and it could be important. Okay, just like when Powell came out a year ago and said he was going to raise rates and no one paid attention. It was public. He had a meeting. No one paid attention. Everyone was too busy, being drunk and happy over an S&P that was on its highs. No one paid attention, but I remember. Okay, anyway, all right, so one more, and then I'm going to wrap this up, people. I really appreciate you spending time with me here today. I always go over, I have to stay on schedule, all right? Bill always picks on me because I never stay on schedule. So anything on natural gas, all right, let's see. Mirror GDX, like, I don't know what SIL is. Is that silver? Is that the silver ETF? If that's silver, well, there, it's going to be the silver relationship. It's going to mirror silver more than gold, but it's going to have a similar activity. And again, it's against the dollar, okay? Thoughts on Sophie? All right, cool. All right, so I'm not going to be able to answer all these. No problem, Steve, no problem. Okay, so let me go over one more here. Natural gas. Natural gas. Let's see, what is that? There's a, I can't remember the symbol for that. Is it natural NG? Or it's nat gas for this, yeah, it's nat gas for the, what do you call it? The CFD, right? Nat gas spot. Oh yeah, look at that. So this may have something to do with geopolitical concerns, right? I don't know because I don't really follow this. But I mean, just judging from the chart, right? Let's go to a weekly chart and see the bigger picture. Because, you know, natural gas, seriously getting hammered here. Look at this head and shoulders pattern. I don't make a big deal out of those patterns, but there is a lower high over here. So, and it's going back toward the low. So that could lead to a lower low. That's what it looks like it's poised to do. You're going into an old resistance, which is a new support. So the question is, can this thing sustain the support? At this time, there's no way to know. If you get a failed low or double bottom over here in this area, that might be an aggressive swing trade long, right? But other than that, I would stay out of this thing's way, right? Shorting is, well, what about shorting it? This is not a good location to short. You have all this risk of support here. Selling right into that, you're hoping for the break. You know, maybe there's some catalyst that continues the break. I don't know, but those are highly risky trades. I don't like them. So if you want to short this thing, wait for some kind of resistance test, not a test of support. That's all I can say about it. I don't know what the fundamental situation is with this. I suspect it is geopolitical. Okay. This market is usually very sensitive to that. Okay. So, all right, you know what? I'm going to do Sophie, and then I'm going to call this a day. So what is Sophie? It's technology. They're on the Nasdaq. Okay. Right off the bat, this stock sucks. I mean, look at this. Look at that. Oh man. Oh. So how much is this thing? $4.60. Okay. So this is like this would be like in the highly speculative category. Look at this triple top up here. How much was this thing? $24.60. It's now at $4. How many people got sucked into that one? So to answer your question real quick, you know, if you're thinking about accumulating, forget swing trades. This is not good for swing trades, first of all. Second of all, this would be like more longer term, like bigger picture in accumulation type of thing. But if it's highly speculative, we're not in the environment for that. So you would have to go small, first of all. If you want to be more conservative and wait for this thing to start making some progress, you need to clear a resistance level. That's the first thing. This is a weekly resistance right here. That is the $6 area. You need to clear that first before anything. You need to clear it dramatically. It needs to clear and then pull back and test. So you got a long way to go before this thing starts to look attractive. Yes, you're not at a high, that's for sure. All right, but the thing is, these stocks, these group of stocks, it's going to be some time before the magic comes back to the market. You need easy money. You need speculative money, and that begins with the Federal Reserve, right? And we looked at the bond market, and that's not exactly happening yet. Powell is still in rising rate mode. He just said he's going to raise less. And the market gets all excited about that. It's nonsense. He's still in rising rate mode. I can understand if Powell came out and said, okay, I'm going to stop. That's not what he said, right? But everyone has, oh, he's going to stop. He's going to change. He's going to. Don't go by what people say, okay? Go by, I don't care how much, oh, but this guy's a respected expert. He's a respected analyst from blah, blah, blah. Doesn't mean anything, all right? The bond market does not lie. Go by the bond market. All right, there's no agenda. The bond market doesn't have an agenda. It just is. That's where I'm going to get my cue from, and it's just not there yet. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay. Oh, Cape Town from South Africa. Okay, land of Elon Musk. Okay, cool. No problem. Thank you for joining. All right, you guys. So that's it. If I missed your question, I apologize. I hope you got value out of the stream here. I really want people to benefit. I really want people to have perspective and have a strong understanding, if anything, of risk, because that's what this game is about. This is not about making big money and blah, 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 blah. If you're still in that mode, do yourself a favor and quit, because you're only going to get fleeced. And like I said earlier, if you don't have money, you're not gonna you quit. I'm doing you a favor. If you have like a little bit of money and you think you're gonna grow that, quit. You're gonna get robbed. Okay, you need some money to play with in this game, whether you're a day trader, a swing trader, or an investor. If you want to see significant returns, you need to have some money to play with. All right. So I know some people, they come in, I have $500, and you're gonna just throw that money out the window. So you might as well buy something that you like with it. All right, I'm telling you right now, instead of putting your money in the market, use your time to learn. Okay, so you're in the right place, you're learning, there's no hurry. Now is a good time to learn because we're not pushing market highs. You're not missing any opportunities. We're pushing lows, and we're likely to fool around near lows for at least the short term. So there's no hurry. Use this time wisely. Take the time to educate yourself. Okay, learn the basics. In fact, in a free channel, Bill has put a lot of valuable information in the free Discord channel. And I mean, some of the stuff in there, I asked him to put it in there, some of the stuff he found on his own. And it's really, for a beginner, this is the kind of like academic content you need to be absorbing now, right? You need to understand what the efficient markets hypothesis is. You need to understand what random walk theory is. You need to understand all these things, even though they're not going to make you money now, but they will help give you perspective, and they will help you to understand what's realistic and what is not. And they will help you see through all the fake gurus and all the other nonsense that's pushed on you in this game. This is the most deceptive game in the world. You owe it to yourself to educate yourself and at least get enough knowledge to be able to see through the nonsense. Never mind to make money. You need to be able to see through the nonsense first and protect yourself. That's the first thing you need to be able to do. Play a strong defense. Okay, making money comes from keeping your losses small or being able to avoid a loss altogether. That's where making money comes from, not home runs. Everyone thinks they're gonna invest their $500 and it's gonna be $50,000 in a few months. That's what everyone likes to think, and that idea is pushed over and over again. It's complete nonsense. Don't be fooled. Okay, that's what I'm gonna leave you with. If you guys have any questions, you guys know where to find me. There's the links in the description. There's the links on the TradingView description thing, whatever the signature. Please click on that stuff. Check it out if you're interested. If you have any questions, let me know. If I missed your question, I apologize. Anyway, again, find me next week or in my other streams. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world, and thank you very much for watching.